Okay. This lesson is actually really easy, but some kids just mess it up because they try to make it harder than what it really is. Okay, so part one, title, factor difference of two squares. I often will call this dots, difference of two squares. Got it? So when you hear me saying dots, you know what I'm talking about. Part one is review. Multiply. Number one, x plus 7 and x minus 7. Number two, y plus 5 and y minus 5. I'm going to give you guys a few seconds right now to do your double distribution. Multiply, 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 multiply. Or FOIL method, whatever method you use. Quickly, please. All right, what do we get? X squared plus what? Or minus what? X squared minus 7x, and then in here it's plus 7x minus 49. What happens with the middle terms? Good, and I have x squared minus 49. And we learned that this happens when these last two terms are the same but are opposites. I shouldn't say the same. They are opposites. Plus 7 minus 7. Is that same thing going to happen here?
Yeah.
Let's check. What's y times y? Y squared minus 5y plus 5y minus 25. And what happens with the middle terms? And what are we left with? Okay, this is all review. Any questions so far? Number 3, without any double distribution arrows, z minus 12 or plus 12, it doesn't matter which one comes first. Z minus 12, z plus 12. Again, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, minus, plus, does not matter. Without doing all these arrows, what is it going to be? Z squared minus 144. What's going to happen with the middle terms? Cross out. Will that also happen with something like this? X minus 6 and x minus 6. Will that same shortcut still work? You want to be careful. Why does it not work on this one?
Because they're both negative.
They're both negatives. They have to be opposites in order to work. Minus minus or plus plus will not work. Let's check it. What's x times x? And then plus 6x or minus 6x right here? X times negative 6 is negative 6x, and right here as well it's also what? Negative 6x, and at the very end plus 36 or minus 36? Plus. And when I add these like terms, do they cross out?
No.
They do not. They are not opposites. It's x squared minus what? 12x plus 36. So this is the traditional one, like what we were doing on block day. Trinomial factoring working backwards. That's what this is. This is what we're going to be working with today. What do we do when it's not a trinomial and it's a difference of two squares? Okay. Part 2, factor. Why do we call them difference of two squares?
Because they have two squares.
There are two perfect squares. Look at that. X squared 49. Are those two perfect squares?
Yes.
Y squared 25. Are those two perfect squares?
Yes.
Z squared 144. Are those two perfect squares? And what's in between each and every one of them? A negative. That's why it's called difference for minus of two squares. Difference of two squares. Difference of two squares, not a difference of two squares. This is called what type of factoring? It starts with the T.
Trinomial.
Trinomial. 3 terms, x squared x, no x at all. Do you see the difference?
Yes.
All right, so I'm hoping you guys can see. If you see this, it's going to be x plus 7, x minus 7 as the answer. Y squared minus 25 will be y plus 5, y minus 5. And z squared minus 144 will be z plus 12 and z minus 12. Okay, where is the 7, 7 coming from?
49.
What are we doing with the 49 to get 7, 7? Square rooting, right? What about 5 and 5 from the 25. What are we doing? Square rooting. 144. There are plenty of factors for 144. How do we know to use 12 and 12? Because we do the what to the 144? Square root, right? What's the square root of 144?
12.
What's the square root of 49?
7.
What's the square root of 25?
5.
What's the square root of x squared?
X.
What's the square root of y squared?
Y.
What's the square root of z squared?
C.
Okay, so let's see if we can do this. X squared minus 9. X squared minus 9. Okay, first off, let's recognize, are these difference of two squares? Okay, are there two squares there? And are they, yes, they're both perfect squares. Is there a minus sign in between? Okay, double bubble. X and x to get the x squared. And what are my signs going to be? Plus, plus, minus, minus, or one of each?
Plus minus.
Plus, minus, square root of 9 is 3 and 3 and you're done. That's it.
Does it matter if you switch them?
It does not matter. If you put x minus 3, x plus 3, is that perfectly fine?
Yes.
That is perfectly fine. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, no, it doesn't make sense? Yes? It does say you have to check. I'm not sure if I want you guys to check or not. Do you think we need to check it?
No.
Okay, on your check tonight, do you have to check when it says check?
Nope.
No. And I don't know if I told you guys yesterday, but you're still going to be working on what problems tonight? Odd, just like we've been. So make note of that. All right, number 2, z squared minus 64, double bubble, x and x or z and z? And with difference of two squares, I know it's minus plus or plus minus. Does it matter which one goes first? No, you figure out what this number is here. And you do not have to list all the factors of 64 on these. What's the number?
8.
And that's it, you're done. Can I write these as quantity squared?
Yes. Wait.
No. Why can't I write these as quantity squared? They're not the same. So like this one over here, could I write this as x minus 6 quantity squared? Because it's exactly the same. If it's plus 3 minus 3, can I write it once with the squared? No. This is the answer or this is the answer. Minus plus, plus minus does not matter. Number 3. This one always throws kids off. X squared minus y squared, throwing extra variables in there. It still works the same way. Darn it. Sorry. All right, we still do it the same way. Right here, what's going to go in the first spot? And then plus minus or minus plus, does it matter which order you use? What's the square root of y squared? So it's y and y, and that's it. X plus y, x minus y. Don't let these extra variables confuse you. It's still the same exact work. Questions? Yes?
What about if it's, for example, like z squared plus 64?
Good question. What if it was z squared plus 64? You couldn't do this. And it will only be minus on today's assignments. It only works when it's a difference of two squares, not a sum of two squares. Dots, not sots, is what I tell my kids. All right, so let's do this one because this one is a little different.
Will it still be 4y?
Okay, no, we square root each one. Do you agree the square root of x squared is x and x? Okay, what's the square root of 4y squared? 2y and 2y. Oh, first off, I forgot to ask, are these both perfect squares? Both of these?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, do you agree that 2y times 2y is 4y squared? What's the square root of 25w squared? 5w and 5w. Does it matter if you put plus minus or minus plus? And that's your answer. You are done. Questions? We're good? All right, which assignment? Do you guys agree it's not that bad? Okay.